Hello YouTube, it is your boy GCTV once again back with another video, and we are here with another week, which means another Sunday. It means another episode of Euphoria. Football Sundays have officially been replaced by Euphoria Sundays. We're with episode 6, so we are at the 3/4 mark through this thing, which is going to happen to be the final season of the long-running HBO modern day classic to me. I mean, the show's been going on since what, 2019, so it's been around for a while, but honestly this episode weirdly felt the most like old Euphoria so far. There's a lot of stuff we're going to get into. Again, these videos are kind of weird in style, as we're going to be kind of going from a character to character basis and going through all of the storylines they kind of touched upon here. I give my opening thoughts, I get into that, and then we do an outro. So these are a lot more unique than my movie reviews, but honestly I like the freeform style of this. And this definitely felt more like a setup episode, not in a bad way necessarily. I actually thought this episode did the best job all season balancing everybody's storylines, and maybe that's what it takes to get like the most out of this great cast. Rue and Jules finally kind of get scenes together again that mean something for like the trajectory of their relationship. Cassie and Lexi actually helping each other as sisters. They're very much interacting. Maddy getting deeper involved with Alamo's world, which seems to only have repercussions waiting for her, only seems to have consequences. Nate finally snapping and stomping those flowers while still being kind of a fucking pussy and being belittled by these Mexican thugs. Faye getting actual emotional scenes, falling in love with Wayne, who works with Laurie with her. Even Bishop got a really good monologue. There's a lot of characters that are kind of getting these moments. This felt much more like the old structure of the show, just mixed with all the crime and gang stuff they introduced this season. I think what Euphoria did so well before is just giving every character a moment to shine, and they did that this episode. I like the balance a lot. Let's get into it. Of course, first we have to talk about Rue, kind of a spiritual angle. Of course, Rue, played by Zendaya, is the main character of the show, so as always, we have to discuss her. The burning bush stuff with Rue looked beautiful visually. It's just another one of those kind of artsy things that the show pulls off. The show is very experimental in how it presents things, and obviously I like that. You can tell there's symbolism there. It's definitely artistic. It was also a little vague, I will say, like what they were trying to show. It's kind of hard to tell what they were trying to show, because it's like, okay, shrubberies burning in the middle of a desert, that happened. It kind of explodes. I mean, that's obviously a little unrealistic, but I get the spiritual awakening angle. They show that in plenty of shows before. I think it's actually really nice seeing Ruth move towards religion and something bigger than herself. Now, religion's not necessarily something I've adopted through my life. I mean, obviously I've grown up in a family that is quite religious, but it is cool to see someone kind of find themselves through faith. That is a beautiful storyline for a show or movie. That's something our characters needed, I mean, since the start of the show, and to see that happen finally in season 3, again with only like a couple of hours of runtime for the show to remain, I think that's really cool, and her character's starting to kind of head towards the closure. It seems like Rue's character is starting to get somewhat of a storybook ending, which is kind of what the main character deserves, whether you like it or not. Now, the DEA is kind of cracking down and stuff like that. At the same time, I don't fully understand what that scene's supposed to represent, which is fine. I mean, maybe it's one of those moments where people online are gonna dissect it more deeply than I can right now. I mean, it looks cool. It was a cool inclusion to the episode. It didn't do anything to like distract you from the main narrative. It was just kind of a moment, you know. She crashed her car, she got distracted by the tape fucking up, and then she crashed her car. Now, getting into kind of Alamo, Bishop, like the backstory, all that stuff, because Alamo gets a very big light shedded on him in this episode, and that is very much appreciated, because Alamo is a character I've been pretty curious about. Kind of this black cowboy. He's almost become sort of an anomaly of an inclusion in the show, and anything involving Alamo is still great. I think the actor playing him is amazing. I mean, I think he's killing it this season. I think for a first and last season as a new inclusion, as a new character, I think, wow, he's been great. I really liked getting more backstory in him, because now his personality makes way more sense. They're finally contextualizing things and doing the good old classic Euphoria trope that they've been doing before. I wish they'd do it to more characters. I would say Bishop definitely deserved one. Laurie low-key kind of deserved one as well earlier in the show, and they could have gave her one here, but that's besides the point. Like, you understand why he's skeptical of people all the time. He's quite a paranoid character, and at first you would think it's kind of over the top and he's being ridiculous, even though like his intuitions are right most of the time. He is a very street smart individual. Why he studies people, why he instantly feels when something is off. He grew up around that with a mother that was very attractive, and she would get with multiple partners. All the male manipulation with that definitely kind of applies to the drug world. Males share traits pretty commonly across the board, and seeing men come in and out, it shaped how he views the world, and I think it's really nice that they kind of took the beginning of the episode briefly to touch upon that. So now when he gives Rue that look like something ain't right here, like she could be potentially a rat again, a lot of skepticism, especially even ever since the DEA got involved. Literally the second that started happening, oh, you've brought an avalanche of trouble. You've been nothing but trouble. Are you a fucking rat? And even painting the imagery with the rat, feeding it to the snake, it feels earned for sure. Like the Bishop's snake story, that was one of the best monologues this season. I think that was a really crazy scene. And obviously Bishop's intimidating as in Solitude as kind of a corny movie character type. They're definitely inspired by something. They're definitely paying homage to something, but I think it was awesome. Cassie, I think Cassie's character made huge strides in this episode because she's really finally trying to find herself, trying to find something that worked out for her. Honestly, it might be the first episode all season. I genuinely supported Cassie. I genuinely liked what her character was going through. I like what they put on screen. I think it was all great. I'm not fully in support of her character. Like, she is still a mess. She is still kind of a dumbass. Like, she still acts blonde, acts like the popular chick from high school that peaked then. But seeing her potentially find a real lane through acting, something that isn't just like this social media influencer fake shit that you don't have to work hard for, OnlyFans showing your tits and shit on the internet, I think that worked for me. I think that was great. And I think it was crazy enough, as crazy as this sounds, it almost mirrors Sydney Sweeney's real life image too. Now, I'm not sure if other people are going to notice that or that's just me, but I do think what they're showing here with Cassie and kind of the trajectory of her character is very much how the media portrays Sydney Sweeney. Because people kind of reduce Sydney Sweeney down to sexuality and appearance. There's obviously more to her than that. I've always known that. I mean, obviously she's had sexy scenes in Euphoria and anything moving forward. She had the jeans commercial. She had any night show with like Jimmy Fallon appearances and people were kind of commenting on how she would dress. She's a great actress. She has played some really good roles over the last couple of years, and this represents that. It almost feels like Sam Levinson is intentionally reflecting the way the public talks about Sydney through Cassie. And if that's the point, I think that's actually a pretty interesting angle, especially now that Nate has basically dragged her life into chaos. At least this acting opportunity feels like something genuine she can hold on to. And again, the connection with Sydney Sweeney that I'm seeing here, if that's a good interpretation, I think that's awesome. And Nate, I don't know. Nate's whatever. He's almost like a freak of the week. He's almost like a waste of time for this show. I hate to say that because Nate was such a pivotal, such a monumental character in the first two seasons. Again, a lot of things were riding on the fact that this guy's life fell apart and he went through some crazy shit through high school. If he didn't abuse Maddy, if he didn't get his ass kicked at a party, like if none of these things were happening, if his dad wasn't a closeted homosexual, the show would not be what it is. They got to get moving with this. Like, he already got humbled earlier this season after the wedding. Now it almost feels like they're dragging his suffering again into a running gag. And with only 2 episodes left, I think we need some crazy stuff to happen now. Not only to Nate, by the way, but even other characters. Like, it doesn't seem like the season is leaving much of an impact on these characters' lives. It is like in the moment, but at the end of the day, it doesn't feel like we're reaching any sort of resolution. People need to get arrested. There needs to be violence. Something huge needs to happen because, again, there's probably only about 3 hours left of the show to really do something. And right now, it's not really at a standstill. It's still very much setting up to happen, set up for things to happen. Getting into Jules and Lexi, kind of just the other side characters that were somewhat neglected earlier into the season. I think this episode actually handled them much better at kind of bringing them more into the light and giving them some more redeemable qualities. The Rue and Jules scenes, again, honestly, felt like closure in a kind of weird way. Jules slapping Rue is almost like a symbolic thing of their relationship. Like, she's accepting that Rue's lifestyle is never going to change and kind of rejecting the fantasy of a future together. And she's kind of acknowledging the fact that she wants this life with these pimps. And she's admitting that, this slap. I want these people to pay my rent. I'm living the fucking life, bitch. And honestly, I think that's enough for their relationship. And even getting into Lexi, because she has another character relationship like we talked about earlier. We kind of talked about and touched upon her and Cassie. I actually love seeing them succeed together. Lexi's whole role in this series was always kind of the neglected, less popular sister. So seeing them finally connect through success instead of resentment is really satisfying. I like how the show is allowing them to prosper together. And just kind of getting into the tone of the season. At this point, the show is basically Ozark, The Idol, Breaking Bad with just a tiny bit of old Euphoria left in it. And honestly, I'm totally okay with that. I know I kind of shouted those shows out early in other reviews, but not necessarily this incredible award-dominating masterpiece like it used to be, but the characters are still fun enough that I'm willing to go wherever the show wants to go. I think that's the charm of it right now, and there's all sorts of good moments we can get into before we close this out. The Alamo and Laurie face-off was great. The Bishop Snake monologue was great, and honestly, seeing Cassie get pushed towards acting by that Sharon Tate conversation who plays the director was surprisingly one of the most interesting things in the episode. There was just a lot of little character moments here that worked. Let's get into the review. Getting into the review, I'm gonna be completely honest. Right now, it doesn't feel like there are only 2 episodes left. And I don't know if that's because I'm gonna miss this show when it is gone, when there's no longer new episodes, or what? Because obviously I got similar feelings to when I watched like a Stranger Things or a Squid Game, those are two shows that like have wrapped up in the last year. There's still so much setup happening, and again, with like 3 hours left of runtime potentially, maybe they'll have a massive finale, I'm not really sure. My biggest question is the show really about to end, or is it going to end and still leave off with way more story left to tell? I'm not necessarily sure. I like this season, I like the entertainment factor, there's a lot of fun, shock value moments going on, and there's a lot of art. The show still has somewhat of an identity, it still has shreddings of what it used to be, and I very, very much appreciate that. However, I just don't know if we're going to leave off on the correct foot. It is very hard to close out a show. I mean, it is critically acclaimed, people love the show, but it's not a critically acclaimed, Academy Awarding masterpiece. It's not a Game of Thrones, it's not a Breaking Bad, it's none of these like legendary shows, but still, you'd love to see it at least leave on a satisfying mark, especially because these are actors I almost grew up with in an essence. So this show is pretty close to me. I was in high school when this show first started, so very much relating to me. I mean, shit. That's gonna do it though. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. As always, it has been your boy GZTV. I'm gonna try to get this video to you guys as soon as possible, because I just got done watching Harold and Kumar Goes to White Castle with my dad as well. But kind of continuing on the theme of the comedy film, we're gonna get that. We will take a brief detour though, and possibly go to theaters to watch Obsession, Curry Barker's latest masterpiece. Might even be his debut. But